The storm came without warning. It roared across the dusty plains of Venera 3, flashing blue lightning across the sky. The ground shook under the force of the wind, and the air was filled with the smell of burning metal from far-off mining sites. Inside a small metal shelter on the edge of the colony, Ryan tightened the bolts on the window panels. He had lived alone for months, working as a repair engineer for the colony's outer systems. Storms like this were common, but tonight the wind carried a strange hum that made him uneasy. He checked his scanner and saw something unusual. A small life signal blinked on the screen, just a few hundred meters away from his shelter. It was moving slowly, weakly, as if whoever it was could barely stand. Ryan frowned. No one should be outside in this storm. The colony had sent alerts hours ago warning everyone to stay indoors. He grabbed his coat and helmet. The signal was faint, but he couldn't ignore it. Taking his flashlight, he stepped out into the storm. The wind hit him hard, nearly knocking him off balance. Dust and glowing energy particles filled the air, making it hard to see. Step by step, he followed the signal on his wrist display. Then he saw her. A figure lay near a fallen communication pole, half buried in dust. Ryan hurried closer and froze when his light fell on her face. She was not human. Her skin was pale blue and faintly glowing, and thin silver lines ran across her forehead and arms like living veins of light. Her eyes were closed and her breathing was slow but steady. Ryan had seen members of other species before. Venera 3 had trade visitors, but this one was different. Her body looked fragile, almost weightless, and her clothes were made of some soft fiber that shimmered in the light. She looked peaceful, not dangerous. He knelt beside her and tapped his communicator. No signal. The storm had cut all channels. He couldn't call for help. For a moment he hesitated, then decided he couldn't leave her out here. Gently he lifted her into his arms. She was light, as if the air itself carried part of her weight. When he reached his shelter, he placed her on the small cot near the heater. He removed his helmet and wiped the dust from her face. Her skin was warm, almost hot, like it held energy inside. The glow around her faded slightly as she rested. Ryan found a thermal blanket and covered her. He sat near the heater, watching her breathe. He wondered who she was and how she ended up near his shelter during one of the worst storms of the season. After a while, she stirred. Her eyes opened, clear silver like liquid light. She looked around in confusion, then at him. Ryan raised his hands gently to show he meant no harm. "It's all right," he said in a calm voice. "You're safe here. The storm is still strong outside." She blinked slowly, struggling with the words. "Safe here?" Her accent was soft but strange, the sound slightly off from human tone. "Yes," Ryan nodded. "I'm Ryan. What's your name?" She looked down as if searching her memory, then whispered, "Lyra." Her voice carried a faint echo, as though the air vibrated when she spoke. Ryan smiled. "Lyra, that's a nice name. You were outside during the storm. You're lucky I found you." She sat up weakly, her hands trembling. When she tried to stand, she almost fell. Ryan helped her sit again. "You need rest. The storm will pass soon. Then I can contact the colony for help." Lyra looked frightened when he mentioned the colony. No call," Ryan frowned. "You don't want help?" She shook her head, her silver hair moving like flowing water. "Humans, study Narai, take us for test. No, go back," he froze. The Narai, he had heard that name before, a species known for their peaceful nature and strange bond with natural energy. The colony's scientists had spoken of them with curiosity, saying their biology was unique. But he didn't know they were being studied. "You escaped?" he asked quietly. Lyra nodded. "Run from lab. Storm hide me." "You find me?" Ryan felt a chill. He didn't know the full truth, but her fear was real. He looked at her glowing marks again. They pulsed faintly with rhythm like a heartbeat. She looked tired, yet her presence made the air feel alive. "You can stay here," he said after a moment. "I won't tell anyone until you're ready." Lyra looked surprised. "You help me?" "Of course. You need shelter and I have space. That's all." She smiled softly, a small, grateful smile that made Ryan feel lighter. "Thank you, Ryan." Hours passed as the storm raged outside. The shelter creaked under the pressure, but it held firm. Ryan gave her some warm liquid food, though she only drank a little. She spent most of the time sitting quietly near the heater, eyes half closed. Sometimes she would hum a soft tone, and the heater's light would flicker as if reacting to her sound. Ryan found it strange, but calming. There was something soothing about her voice, He wondered if her species used sound to control energy. Later, as he checked the storm levels, he noticed the temperature inside had risen slightly, though the heater's power was steady. He looked back at Lyra. Her glow had changed color, now faintly golden instead of blue. Her eyes were distant, like she was listening to something far away. "Are you all right?" Ryan asked. She nodded slowly. "The planet speaks." "It hurts." "The planet?" She placed her hand on the metal floor. "It cries under human ground. Mining breaks deep roots. I feel it." Ryan didn't understand everything she meant, but he saw the sadness in her face. She was not only talking about herself, she felt the world around her as if it was alive. He wanted to ask more, but she began to tremble. The glow on her skin pulsed faster for a moment, then dimmed again. Ryan moved closer, worried. "You need rest. Whatever is happening can wait until morning." She nodded weakly, lying down again. "Yes, morning." As she drifted to sleep, the storm started to fade outside. The wind grew softer and the lightning slowed. Ryan watched her for a long time. There was something about her that pulled at his curiosity and concern. She was unlike any being he had ever met. He didn't know what kind of change she spoke of, or what danger she might bring, but for now, she was just someone who needed help. When he finally lay down on his chair, the soft golden light from Lyra's body filled the room like a small sunrise. Ryan closed his eyes, unaware that the moment he offered her shelter, he had become part of something far greater than a single storm. Something was awakening, inside her, and perhaps inside the planet itself. The night passed quietly, but beneath the calm surface of Venera 3, the ground began to pulse with faint energy, as if the world itself had started to breathe again. Morning arrived softly over the quiet plains of Venera 3. The sky was clear for the first time in many days, and the golden light of the sun spread across the horizon. The air outside was still heavy from the storm, but calm had finally returned. Inside the metal shelter, Ryan woke to the faint hum of the generator and the soft sound of breathing. Lyra was awake, sitting near the heater again. She looked calmer now, though her glowing marks were still visible on her arms and neck. The blue light from her skin reflected gently off the metal walls, making the room look peaceful and alive at the same time. "Good morning," Ryan said quietly. Lyra turned her head slowly and gave a small nod. "Storm is gone." "Yes," Ryan said, checking his scanner. "Signal lines are damaged, but I can repair them later. For now, you should rest more. You still look weak." She touched her chest lightly. "I feel strange. My energy changes inside, like two hearts beating." Ryan frowned a little. "Two hearts? Is that normal for your kind?" She shook her head. "No, the change starts early." It was not meant to come now. He crouched down beside her. "What is this change you keep talking about?" Lyra hesitated. Her eyes looked distant, as if she was trying to find the right words. "The Neri live with the life of the world. We do not take from it, we share. When the world changes, we change too. It is a connection. But the humans cut the deep lines of energy. The planet is hurt. The change is not safe anymore." Ryan listened carefully. He had worked in mining before, and he knew how deep the machines went. The colony had found energy crystals that powered ships and factories. People said the crystals were just natural minerals, but Lyra's words made him think differently. "Do you mean the crystals we mine are part of your world's life?" he asked. She nodded. "Yes, they are like blood. When humans take too much, the planet becomes weak. The Neri feel it in our bodies. That is why I ran away. The researchers wanted to study this connection. They did not understand it is not only science. It is life." Ryan felt uneasy. He had never thought of the crystals as something living. To him, they were just resources. But now he started to imagine the planet as something breathing beneath the surface, and it made him feel small. He handed Lyra a small cup of warm water. "Drink this. It might help." She accepted it and smiled softly. Her smile always seemed to bring calm into the room. "You are kind, Ryan. Most humans do not listen." "I try," he said with a small laugh. "But I'm not sure I understand everything yet." "It is enough that you try," she said. For the next few days, they lived quietly together. Ryan repaired the outside panels and worked on restoring the communication line. Lyra stayed inside, resting and meditating in silence. Sometimes she would sit on the floor with her eyes closed and her hands on the metal surface. When she did that, the walls seemed to vibrate faintly, as if the shelter was responding to her presence. At night, she often looked out through the small window at the stars. "The sky feels heavier," she said once. "Something moves beyond." Ryan didn't know what she meant, but her voice carried a quiet sadness that made him stop asking. As days passed, he started to notice more strange things. The plants around the shelter were growing faster than usual. The small desert flowers that normally bloomed once a season had started to appear all at once. Even the air felt warmer. One evening, while Ryan was fixing the outside antenna, he heard Lyra singing. It was not a song in any language he knew. Her voice was soft and musical, flowing like water. When she sang, the energy crystals he kept near the generator began to glow faintly. He entered the room quietly and watched her. She was sitting cross-legged, her hands raised slightly above the ground. Lines of light flowed under her skin, and the air around her shimmered. She opened her eyes and smiled faintly when she saw him. "Your music is beautiful," Ryan said. "It is not music," she replied softly. "It is a call. The planet answers when we speak from the heart. The planet answers. Yes, it sends feeling, warmth, light. It tells us what it needs." Ryan looked at the glowing floor and could not deny what he saw. "What does it need now?" he asked. "Peace," Lyra said. "But the mining wakes it again and again. It is like cutting open a wound every day." Ryan sat beside her. "I wish I could help, but I'm just one man. I can't stop the colony." She looked at him kindly. "One heart can start a change. The others will follow if they see truth." Her words stayed in his mind long after she went to rest. He thought about how people came to Venera 3 looking for energy, not understanding what they were taking. Maybe there was still time to make them see the harm they caused. That night, Ryan could not sleep. He watched the sky through the small window. Strange lights moved among the stars like distant signals flickering in patterns. He wondered if they were Nerai ships searching for Lyra or something else entirely. In the morning, he found Lyra standing outside for the first time since the storm. Her bare feet touched the soft soil, and wherever she stepped, small flowers opened in her path. The air was calm and bright around her. "You shouldn't be out yet," Ryan said, walking toward her. "You still need rest." "I am stronger now," she said. "The planet gives me energy again." He stopped a few feet away, staring at the glowing marks on her arms. They were changing shape, forming flowing lines that looked like symbols. "Your marks, they're different." She looked at them too. "Yes, the change grows. My people fear this time. We do not know what it means. Some say we will become one with the planets we live on. Some say it will destroy us." Ryan felt a chill run through him. "Destroy?" Lyra nodded slowly. "When the balance is broken, the change becomes wild. It can spread through the land and take everything with it. I do not want that." He looked toward the mining valley in the distance where the human machines worked day and night. If what she said was true, then something dangerous might already be building beneath them. "We need to find a way to stop the mining before it's too late," he said. Lyra looked at him with a calm, trusting gaze. "You would help?" "Yes," he said firmly. "You're my guest. And if your people's change can affect the planet, it can affect us too. We're part of this world now, whether we understand it or not." Her smile returned, gentle but full of meaning. "Then we will find the path together." The sun was setting behind them, casting a warm orange glow across the land. Ryan stood beside Lyra, watching as the light reflected in her silver eyes. In that moment, he realized that the fate of Venera 3 might depend on what happened to her, and that his small act of kindness might have set something powerful in motion. The wind was calm now, but somewhere deep under the soil, the planet's pulse grew stronger. The change was coming, and neither human nor Nerai could stop it from awakening. The sun rose quietly over Venera 3, spreading light over the desert hills. Ryan stepped out of his shelter, stretching his arms after a long night of worry. The air felt heavy, warmer than usual. The soft wind carried a strange scent, almost sweet, like blooming flowers after rain. He turned and saw Lyra standing near the ridge, her face toward the sky. The marks on her skin were brighter than before, flowing with gold and blue light. Her hair shimmered faintly, moving like strands of silver mist. She looked peaceful, but her eyes had a deep, distant glow. "Lyra," Ryan called. "Are you all right?" She turned slowly, and for a moment her eyes looked as if they carried tiny stars within them. "The planet is speaking," she said. "It is louder now." Ryan stepped closer. "Is that good or bad?" "I do not know," she replied. "It feels both warm and painful." "The energy is waking," he frowned. "You mean the change?" She nodded. Yes, the change comes early. The balance is not ready. Ryan felt uneasy. He looked around. The sand near the shelter had small cracks filled with glowing blue light. It looked like the ground itself was breathing. He knelt to touch the soil and a faint pulse passed through his fingers. Lyra, this isn't normal. The planet wasn't like this before. The storm opened the lines, she said softly. Now the energy moves freely. It searches for harmony, but the mining scars block its path. Ryan's mind raced. The mining stations nearby use deep drills powered by fusion engines. If that energy met the planet's natural network, it could cause something unpredictable. We have to warn the colony, he said. Lyra shook her head quickly. They will not listen. They will think I am danger. He paused. She was right. The colony leaders saw anything unknown as a threat. If they found her, they would send soldiers, not scientists. Then what do we do? Ryan asked. She closed her eyes and placed her hand on the ground. The glow spread from her fingertips into the soil, forming circles of light. I must guide it. The change cannot be stopped, but it can be shaped. Ryan watched as her body began to glow brighter. The marks on her arms shifted into new patterns, moving like liquid fire under her skin. The air around her hummed with low energy. Lyra, stop, Ryan said, alarmed. You're hurting yourself. She smiled faintly. It is not pain. It is becoming. A gust of warm wind rose from the ground, swirling around them. The light from her body grew so bright that Ryan had to shield his eyes. He felt the ground tremble beneath his feet. Suddenly, a voice crackled through his communicator. Outer Post 7, this is Colony Command. We're detecting massive energy surges in your zone. Are you safe? Ryan hesitated. If he answered, they might come and find Lyra. But if he stayed silent, they might send a drone. He turned off the device and faced her again. They've noticed. Whatever is happening here, it's spreading. Lyra lowered her hands slowly. The light around her dimmed, but her face looked pale. I can slow it for a time, but not forever. Ryan helped her walk back into the shelter. Her steps were light, almost floating, but he could feel the heat coming from her body. She sat near the heater, though she didn't need warmth anymore. Lyra, he said quietly. What will happen when the change finishes? She looked into his eyes. The Nurai will become one with this world. Our bodies will fade, but our spirit will remain. We will guide the life of this planet for ages. Ryan felt a lump in his throat. You mean you'll disappear? She smiled gently. Not disappear, transform, but this world is not ready. If the balance is broken, the transformation could burn the surface instead of healing it. Ryan clenched his fists. Then we can't let that happen. He stood and walked to his desk, opening a small digital map. He zoomed in on the mining fields. There's an old energy channel near here under the southern valley. If we go there, maybe you can connect to the planet's core more safely. Lyra studied the map. Yes, the deep roots of energy flow there. It is where I must go. They gathered supplies, water, a small scanner, and light shields. Ryan loaded his small transport vehicle, while Lyra stood outside watching the horizon. The air shimmered faintly, and small sparks of light drifted in the wind. As they traveled toward the valley, the landscape changed. Plants that had been dry for years now glowed faintly with blue veins. Rocks vibrated when they passed, releasing tiny sounds like whispers. The entire planet seemed alive. Ryan stopped the vehicle near the ridge. We'll go the rest of the way on foot, he said. Lyra nodded and stepped down. As they walked, Ryan felt the ground pulsing again. It was stronger here, as if something huge was moving deep below them. At the center of the valley, the soil opened into a shallow crater filled with crystal roots. They pulsed with light, bright and steady. Lyra knelt beside them. This is the heart, she whispered. I can feel it calling. Ryan looked around nervously. We don't have much time. The colony scanners will trace this energy soon. Lyra placed both hands on the crystal surface. The light flowed through her body, turning her marks into brilliant streams of gold and silver. The wind around them grew warm, carrying a deep hum that filled the air. Ryan felt his chest tighten. The energy made his skin tingle, but he refused to step back. Lyra, are you all right? Her voice was calm, though distant. The change is close. I see the lines of this world. They are broken, but I can mend them. The light from the crystals spread outward in rings, reaching the nearby hills. The valley began to glow like a sunrise trapped inside the earth. Ryan watched in awe as small plants grew instantly from the soil, but then a loud tremor shook the ground. The crystals cracked slightly and a sharp wave of energy burst upward. Ryan shielded Lyra with his body, feeling the air burn with static. She gasped. It fights back. The wounds are deep. Can you still control it? He shouted. Yes, but I need your strength. Stay near me. Ryan knelt beside her, placing his hands on her shoulders. The light under his palms pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. A warm current moved through him, filling him with calm and strength. You guide the heart, she said. I will follow your rhythm. Ryan closed his eyes and took slow breaths. The trembling began to ease. The light steadied. He didn't understand how it worked, but somehow, his presence helped her keep balance. Minutes passed, and the storm of energy around them grew quiet again. The cracks in the crystals closed. The valley became still. Lyra opened her eyes. Her glow softened to a gentle light. It listens, she whispered. You helped me calm it. Ryan smiled faintly. I just did what I could. She looked at him with wonder. Humans carry strength in a strange way. Your heart is not connected to the world like ours, yet it reaches everything. He looked around the shining valley. Maybe that's why we need each other, he said. The two stood in silence as the sun dipped below the horizon. The valley shimmered softly, breathing with quiet life. But far above, unseen by them, colony satellites recorded the energy surge. Somewhere in the distance, alarms began to sound. Ryan and Lyra had stopped the storm below the surface, but another kind of storm was already forming in the sky. The change had awakened, and it was only the beginning. The next morning, the air over the valley was calm and filled with a golden glow. Ryan sat near the edge of the crystal pit, still trying to understand what had happened the night before. The memory of the light, the tremors, and the strange energy that flowed through him felt like a dream. The plants around the valley now shined with a faint silver hue, bending slightly in the direction of Lyra as if drawn toward her. Lyra stood silently among the glowing roots, her hands gently resting on the crystals. Her skin carried patterns that shifted like soft waves of color. She looked peaceful but distant, like someone listening to a voice far away. Ryan approached carefully. Lyra, are you feeling better? She turned and smiled. Yes, the energy is calm for now. The heart of the planet is healing, but it still feels weak. He nodded, glancing around at the glowing valley. You did all this. It's amazing, Lyra shook her head. Not me alone. You helped. When you placed your hands on me, your energy joined with mine. The planet listened to you as well. Ryan frowned. I don't have any special energy. You do, she said gently. Human hearts are full of will. You cannot speak to the world the way we do, but your strength moves it in other ways. He thought about that for a moment. Maybe her people measured power differently, through feeling, not force. They spent the morning studying the valley. Ryan used his scanner to check for radiation or harmful waves, but the readings were clean. The energy levels were high but stable. However, when he checked the long-range signal, he noticed something that made him uneasy. The colony had sent drones. 3 were already flying toward their location. Lyra, he said quickly, we have to move. The colony found us, she looked calm. They will not understand what we did here. That's exactly the problem, Ryan said. If they see this valley glowing, they'll think it's dangerous. They'll bring machines and weapons. She stepped closer. I cannot leave yet. The connection is still forming. If I break it too soon, the balance will fall again. Ryan looked at the sky. The drones were still far, but soon they would arrive. He couldn't let them find her. Then we need to hide you, he said, at least until I talk to them. She hesitated. They will not believe you. They might not, but I have to try. Ryan helped her climb into a small cave on the side of the valley. It was deep and covered with crystals, glowing faintly with her energy. She pressed her hand to one of the walls and the light dimmed, hiding the glow from outside. I will stay here, she said softly. The planet can speak through the roots. I will not be far. Ryan nodded and hurried back to the valley floor. Moments later, the 3 drones arrived, hovering silently above him. Their metallic bodies reflected the sunlight as they scanned the area. A voice came through his communicator. Engineer Ryan, this is Command. We detected abnormal energy patterns in your sector. Identify the source, Ryan spoke as calmly as he could. The storm from last week opened a crystal bed underground. It caused an energy reaction, but it's under control now. Under control? The voice repeated. Our sensors show an energy spike strong enough to power half the colony. Are you sure it's stable? Yes, I stabilized it manually, Ryan replied. It's natural energy, not a reactor leak. There was silence for a few seconds, then the voice said, "Stay where you are. A research team is being sent to your position." The drones turned and flew back toward the colony. Ryan exhaled in relief. He had bought them some time, but not much. He returned to the cave and found Lyra kneeling on the floor, her eyes closed. The crystals around her pulsed slowly, in rhythm with her breathing. "They're sending a team," Ryan said. "They'll be here in a few hours." Lyra opened her eyes. "Then I must finish what I began before they come." "What do you mean?" "The change is not complete. I linked with the planet's surface, but I must reach the core. That is where the true heart lives. If I can touch it, the energy will settle forever." Brian stared at her. "The core? That's impossible. It's miles deep." Lyra placed her hand on his arm. "Not for me. The connection is not a tunnel or a path. It is a bond. The planet remembers my people. It will guide me." He could see determination in her eyes. "If you do this, what will happen to you?" "I do not know," she said quietly. "Perhaps I will become part of it. Perhaps I will return." Rian wanted to stop her, but he saw there was no fear in her. She had accepted her path. He nodded slowly. "If this is what you have to do, I'll help you." She smiled. "Then we will do it together." They went back to the valley. The crystals pulsed faster now, as if sensing her return. She stood at the center and lifted her hands. Light spread from her fingertips, flowing across the ground like water. The air vibrated with a soft hum. Rian watched as the light formed symbols and lines around her. He could feel the warmth on his face. "Tell me what to do," he said. "Stand with me," she said. "Your presence keeps the human part of this world awake. The planet trusts you." He stepped beside her, placing his hands over hers. The light surged upward, wrapping around both of them. He felt a wave of peace, followed by a deep understanding that he couldn't explain. He could feel the heartbeat of the planet, slow and strong like the rhythm of the ocean. Lyra's voice was calm and clear. "The wounds close. The energy flows again." As she spoke, the ground began to glow in large circles spreading out from the valley. The air shimmered and the sound of the wind grew musical. The crystals in the hills lit up one by one, forming bright lines that stretched toward the horizon. Ryan felt the vibration through his feet. He sensed life returning to the soil. For the first time, he understood what she meant about the planet being alive. Then everything went quiet. The light faded to a gentle shine, and Lyra collapsed to her knees. Ryan caught her before she fell completely. Her body was warm, but her glow was dim. "Lyra, are you all right?" he asked. She opened her eyes slowly. "It is done. The heart sleeps peacefully now." He helped her sit. "You did it. You saved the planet," she smiled weakly. "Not alone. You were the bridge between my world and yours." Ryan looked at her with deep respect. Maybe humans and Nerai were never meant to be enemies. Maybe we were meant to fix things together. Lyra nodded. "That is what the change means. Not power or control, but connection." The wind carried a soft sound through the valley like distant singing. The sky was brighter and the clouds had turned golden. It felt as if the world itself was breathing easier. But the peace didn't last long. In the distance, Rian saw a group of colony transport ships approaching. He stood quickly. "They're here." Lyra looked at him calmly. "Then our lesson must be shared. They must see what we have done." Ryan knew the team would never believe at first, but he also knew the valley itself was proof. It was alive, glowing with harmony. He helped Lyra stand, and together they faced the approaching ships. The planet beneath their feet was no longer silent. It pulsed with quiet strength, as if waiting for the next step in its story. The connection was complete, but their greatest challenge was still ahead. The colony ships landed on the far side of the valley, their engines sending soft waves through the glowing crystals. Ryan stood beside Lyra, watching the dust settle. The valley, now bright and peaceful, seemed to wait silently. A group of people stepped out from the ships, dressed in white research suits with clear helmets. At the front was Commander Ven, a tall man with sharp eyes. He looked around, clearly stunned by the strange light that filled the land. "Ryan," he called through the communicator. "What have you done here? The readings are unlike anything we have seen." Ryan took a deep breath. "It's not dangerous, Commander. The energy is part of the planet itself. We helped it recover." Ven walked closer, scanning the area with his wrist device. The readings blinked fast, showing numbers that made his brows tighten. "Recover. The planet was dying and now it's producing power equal to a reactor. How is that possible? Ryan looked at Lyra, who stood quietly beside him. Her glow was softer now, like a candle after a storm. It's because of her, he said. She's not from here. Her people had a bond with this world long ago. She helped heal it. Ben stared at her with surprise. An alien? He raised his scanner toward her, but the device blinked and went dark. My instruments stopped working, he muttered. Lyra spoke in a calm voice. Your machines cannot read what belongs to life itself. This world remembers my kind, and it also remembers yours now. Van looked uneasy. Ryan, do you have any idea what this means? The council will want her taken for study. If this energy can be controlled, Ryan stepped forward quickly. No, you can't take her. This energy isn't a weapon or a machine, it's alive. If you disturb it, you could destroy the planet again. The other officers exchanged nervous looks. The valley hummed softly as if listening. Lyra closed her eyes for a moment and the crystals around them began to pulse slowly. The lights moved in rhythm, peaceful and bright. The planet does not wish for harm, she said gently. It only wants balance. You can share this place if you understand it, not if you try to rule it. Ven lowered his scanner, uncertain. And what happens if we don't? Ryan answered. Then the planet will defend itself. It already tried once when it released that storm last month. This time it could be worse. The commander hesitated. His team was still collecting samples, but the lights around the crystals were starting to react to every touch. The planet itself seemed aware of their presence. After a long pause, Ven spoke quietly. You believe this world is alive? Ryan nodded. I don't just believe it. I've felt it. The wind carried a soft sound through the valley, almost like a whisper. Even Ven could hear it. The tone wasn't frightening. It was calm, like the voice of the world itself asking for peace. Ven finally lowered his helmet visor and sighed. If what you're saying is true, we'll have to rethink our mission here. Lyra smiled faintly. The world will guide you if you listen. Ryan looked at her with pride. She's telling the truth, Commander. Maybe humans and her kind aren't so different. We both just want to survive. The commander nodded slowly. Very well, Ryan. I'll report what we found, but I can't promise the council will understand. That's enough, Ryan said, as long as they don't harm this valley. Ven turned to his team. Gather your readings and return to the ship. No digging, no samples. We'll leave this area undisturbed. The researchers obeyed without argument. Even they could feel something sacred in the valley, something not meant to be touched. When the ships lifted off again, the wind returned to calm silence. Ryan and Lyra stood side by side, watching the light shimmer across the crystals. You did it, Ryan said softly. You changed everything. Lyra smiled. We did it together. The change is complete. He looked at her, curious. What happens to you now? She looked toward the horizon. My people will feel the signal. The change was not only for this planet, but for my kind as well. They will know that life and balance can exist together. Ryan's eyes softened. Will you leave? She took a deep breath. I must for a time. The stars call to us again. But part of me will stay here, within this world. He didn't know what to say. The thought of her leaving felt heavy. I'll miss you, he said quietly. Lyra touched his hand gently. You gave me shelter when I had nowhere to go. You shared warmth when I had only fear. You showed me what it means to trust another world. That bond will not fade. Ryan smiled faintly. You taught me the same thing. I'll protect this valley no matter what happens. She nodded. Then the world will protect you in return. The sky above began to shimmer. A soft beam of light descended, wrapping around Lyra like a veil. The wind grew still. Ryan stepped back, his heart pounding. Is this your ship? She smiled one last time. No. It is the path my people made long ago. It will take me home. The light brightened for a moment, then faded gently. Lyra was gone, leaving behind a trail of silver dust that floated in the air. The valley was silent again, but it felt alive in a new way. Ryan stood there for a long time, staring at the empty space where she had stood. The wind brushed past him softly, like a whisper saying goodbye. Weeks later, the colony declared the valley a protected zone. No one was allowed to dig or build there. Ryan became its caretaker, ensuring that the balance remained. Every night he would sit near the glowing crystals, listening to the hum of the planet. Sometimes he swore he could hear her voice in the wind, gentle and calm. The valley became a place of learning. Scientists came not to exploit it, but to understand it. They called it the Heart Valley, a symbol of the bond between two species that once mistrusted each other. Ryan often told the story of how one lost girl changed everything. Not through force, but through connection. People listened with awe, realizing that true strength came from understanding, not control. Years passed. The colony grew in peace, guided by the lessons of the valley, and one night when the stars were bright, Ryan saw a streak of silver light move across the sky. He smiled, knowing it was her, watching, guiding, and reminding him that even across the stars, friendship never fades. The world glowed softly beneath that sky, alive and calm. It was no longer just a planet. It was home, to humans, to memory, and to a promise that began when one human offered an alien girl shelter, unaware that her change would awaken a new dawn for them all.